So you could lay down on your back if that's your preference today, but otherwise I'm going to suggest a seated posture. And anytime I say seated, I always end up saying it anyway, but I always mean kneeling or sitting on a chair or whatever feels good. Honestly, just be good to your body, please, please. And then trying to find that place, I could name off about probably 100 different cues to try to get you there. But just tune into your body. Where is the place that you need to be on the buttocks bones, right? Where your pelvis, your spine can be, where you have length, where the energy can completely flow through every single segment of your body. And then when you find that, check in as to whether or not you're feeling really lethargic and it's taking a lot of energy to get there. Or maybe you have a ton of energy and maybe you can bring it down just a little bit, right? Or soften a little bit. And you might already be somewhere in the gray in between those two big old black and white things, right? I personally am going to turn my palms down. It does help me feel a little more grounded, but that might not be the case for you. You could turn them up. And most of y'all were already on, but today we're going to focus on centering and feeling the ground underneath us and just really trying to connect to that. I mentioned it, but again, I will say these things more than once. We have a lot of political things happening right now, right? The elections are not far away and people are very, very, it's very contentious this year, we'll say. So we've been feeling it in our news, in our media. We've been feeling it potentially from neighbors or other people around. So that is one thing that might have us a little more what I'll call up in that wind element, that air and ether, AKA not as grounded. And then we have the literal change of seasons. Here in Walla Walla, I can't speak for LA, but it has been windy and things are blowing around. And if you think that does not affect your internal self, boy, oh boy, have I got some news for you. So again, can you feel the earth underneath you? And even if you're not sitting on the earth, maybe you visualize that you are on Mother Earth in a comfortable way, right? That makes you feel safe. And so that exchange of energy, feeling the energy coming up from Mother Earth into you, but also from you down into Mother Earth. And you don't have to believe all of this. Some of the things I say might be put into a woo-woo category, although the majority of things that I say are very scientifically based at this point in time, right? But you can still imagine or visualize these things happening and they're beneficial. That I know. And then we're going to do run your energy before we start moving physically. And I will talk you through it. Don't worry if you have no idea what I'm talking about. I want you to imagine that from your tailbone, you have a cord that runs down into the earth. And you're going to plug that cord into a energy switch down in the middle of the earth. And then turn the toggle switch so that all of the energy drains out of your body, down through the cord, right, into the earth. And don't worry, we will fill up again, but all that old energy, old thoughts, old feelings, anxieties, worries, all those things, let them drain out of your body from the tip of your toes to your tippy fingers, right, to your tippy crown of your head. And once you feel like that cycle is complete and that all of your old energy has drained out of your tailbone through the cord into the earth, you're going to turn that switch off. And then it has two settings, right? So now we're going to go to the other setting with that toggle switch. And this one fills us with brand new, vibrant energy. So imagine that energy coming up from the earth through this cord into your tailbone, down through your legs, to the feet and the toes and up into the pelvis, right? And then, sorry, not up into the pelvis, my bad. Pause it at the tailbone. So it fills up the legs, the feet, and the toes, but it pauses at the tailbone because we have another energy to bring in, right? We're gonna bring in some energy from up above through the crown of the head. It's gonna come down the back side of our body where it meets up with that earth energy. And then it mixes up to exactly the right portion we need for today, for this time, yeah? And that's going to come up the front of the spine and fill out the rest of the body. So again, it's this combined energy. And you don't have to get really analytical with it, but maybe it's a little more earth energy if that's what you're needing today, and not quite as much cosmic energy, and vice versa. So I'm going to describe that one more time. You're going to feel that energy coming up through the toes, the feet, the legs, right? All that stuff to the tailbone. We have the cosmic energy coming down from above, through the crown, the back of the spine. The two meet down at the tailbone, those energies, they blend together into whatever it is that you need. And you don't have to try to analyze it. It does it automatically, and it fills up the rest of your body. Maybe even fountaining out the top of your head and filling up that space around you, right? About 18 inches out from your body, top, bottom, sides, back, front, you name it. And so we have this beautiful bubble of energy around us. When there is a really strong, opinionated person around me these days, I've really been tuning into this as a force field that is my boundary, that they cannot come in, right? That's them, that's not me, that's them, that's not me. So if that's a helpful tool for you as you navigate through these next few weeks, maybe just imagining this beautiful energy surrounding you. That's your energy. It's nobody else's, and nobody can penetrate that if you don't want them to. Bring your hands together in front of the chest. Inhale. With your exhale, bow your head in towards your hands and just take a moment and set an intention. You know, what is your intention for showing up here this morning? And that might change. Maybe it was one thing and now it's another. Whatever, doesn't matter. Just tune into it. And lift the head. Exhale the hands down, and then go ahead and slowly, gently open those eyes. Morning, you with your brand new energy. Let's come on to hands and knees. Feel free to pad the knees, of course. And then once you get to hands and knees, our first physical motion is going to be cat-cow. And I'm not adding anything super fancy, right? So you can just start to move into it when you're ready. The only thing that I will request, maybe I should have said that first, is that when you inhale, you reach forward towards cow, which is how I often teach it, right? So you'll inhale, reaching the chest forward, and you'll exhale when you round, whenever that is. If you find yourself moving really quickly right now, maybe you can slow it down and think of your breath being nice and slow and deep, and the physical motions of the body following that. Remember, your breath can help to regulate the mind. If our mind is really busy, we're usually in a very shallow, choppy, short breath that's up in the chest. And the signals are sympathetic or fight and flight. Whole hormonal and chemical reaction through the body with that. When we slow the breath down, when we slow our movement down, we start to have a conversation with the parasympathetic, the rest and digest, and we ask those really feel-good, rejuvenating chemicals and hormones. You can think of the sex hormones are usually the ones that do a lot of the calming and the healing and the rejuvenating. And then go ahead and come back to your center. You're going to keep your hips over your knees, and you're going to walk your hands forward and come into a half downward dog. Now, if you prefer to go to a child's pose with the arms extended, you are welcome to do that, right? But otherwise, if your forehead can make it down, let your forehead come to the ground. If your upper back and shoulders are tight and prevent that, you might put a pillow or a blanket underneath your forehead so that you can literally ground. If you can get at that place between, just a little bit above, but between the eyebrows and slightly above it. What's the third eye center in yoga? Do you know that they've done scientific studies on when we ground our forehead, how that calms our central nervous system down? Isn't that crazy?
Think of how many times you've just wanted to rest your forehead down on the ground, or playing, what is 7-Up, something 7-Up in grade school for me. I remember we would put our forehead down. I was like, oh, I didn't realize that was very calming. And that's probably why that game was invented. Now from there, you're gonna walk your hands back and you're gonna move that block or prop if you had one. And then from there, we're gonna go into one more stretch here from hands and knees. So curl your right toes under, straighten the right leg behind you, and just move a little forward and back. And even though I've been trying to do grounding, centering practices, I'll admit that I don't know how grounded and centered I am these days either. But I'm trying. And I know that these tools are helping me, and I would not be nearly as grounded if I wasn't doing this stuff. Come onto your right toes, aka point the toes, reach the right leg over to the left, and you're gonna turn, look back towards that foot. You don't have to see it, and then turn back to center, and slowly exhale, turn and look back towards your toes. And inhale back to center. And one more time, exhale and turn. Maybe stay there for a moment. Stretching through the neck, shoulders, especially the right one away from the ear, might facilitate that. And then come back to center. So some of the work we were doing was with the vestibular system in our balance, right? The inner ear. And so that's adding on to that. So now maybe that left leg goes back and you rock back and forth with the calf muscle. I'm already all over the place, I think, in my head anyway. And then come onto your toes and reach the leg over to the right. And again, we're going to move. So we start to play with that inner ear. You're going to turn and look back towards your toes with the head, and the toes stay there, but you turn back to center. And as you turn your head and look back, right, the inner ear has to work to find balance. Inhale back to center. It's as simple as that. Exhale and turn. You don't have to necessarily feel anything. And as you look back, pardon me, if any of your friends or family or people who are a little older, you could play, if they can do hands and knees, play with this for their balance. Come back through center. Let's take a child's pose this time. Forehead to the ground, arms out in front of you, shoulders soft. That said, if your arms feel better by your side, that is also an option. And pausing for a moment, here we are with our forehead on the ground again. And if you can't reach, please put something under it. And again, you might consider trying to just really gently find that place. You're not going to get right between your eyebrows, right? You're going to be a little bit above it, but towards that center today. Now, keeping the forehead grounded, straighten the arms out as wide as your mat. And if you're broad-shouldered, you might even go wider. As you push down into your fingers, right, check into your index finger and thumb and really root them down. But as those root down, can you rotate your triceps in towards your face, right? So again, feel the earth underneath not just your palms, but your finger pads. Feel the earth underneath your shins and your ankles and your toes, or whatever you have going on, wherever you can feel it, right? And then keep that centered grounding even as we start to lift up in a downward dog. So inhale up to hands and knees, right? Exhale back, downward facing dog. And if you want to take a few moments to pedal the legs, let it be intentional, not just to fidget and move, right? Because of discomfort, but rather as you push a heel down, let it be intentionally stretching through the back part of your leg. Or whatever it is that you're finding, of course. Maybe it's not the back of your leg you're feeling. And then bending the knees, let the hips sway a little to the right, push more through the left hand, come back through center, sway them to the left and push more through the right hand. And then come back to your center line and now try to work with that stillness. As the heels root down any amount, the thighs move back, the hands push forward and down. Where is your neck in relationship to the rest of your spinal column? Right, so people will teach different things. Look back at your knees, but if that tucks your chin in, that might not be your goal, right? Ears between biceps, well, that depends on your upper back and your shoulders. Where is it that your neck can find a little freedom and a release without just hanging down, right? It's an extension of the spine. Take another breath. Walking the hands back to the feet, you'll end up at the back of the mat. With the knees bent, grab the elbow points, unless this is not right for you, and drape and hang in, right? Softening the shoulders if it takes a moment of moving the hips a little or moving the head for the neck or the arms for the shoulders, right? But then do try to come back to stillness when it's available and try to soften everything down in and release every single muscle that runs along the spine, right? So that the vertebrae can start to get more spacious. Put your other forearm in front. Take one more breath there and just draping in. And again, it's almost like you could lay your ribs on your thighs. I'm not saying that's where you should be. That's not your goal, but it's just that draping. Hands on the shins, reach the chest forward, halfway up. Now, before you come up, we're going to come up in a second. Where is the weight in your feet? Can you distribute it through all four corners? Put the hands on the hips, elbows up, keeping it in all four corners. Reach the chest forward to come all the way to standing. And walk on up to the top of your mat. We are going to bring the knees down. So if that makes you want to have a knee pad, if you like blocks when you do lunges and such, have them on standby. If you don't have any of these items, we will accommodate, not a big deal. Inhale, reach those arms forward and up today. And exhale, fold in. Feel free to bend the knees. Inhale the chest forward. Half salutation first, by the way. Exhale and fold in. And if you're like, I don't know what that is, that's why I'm here. Inhale, arms can reach out, but you could leave the hands on the hips the whole time. But as you come up, feel the feet rooting down. And exhale, arms out and down. Let's go into our first lunge series. Inhale, arms forward and up today. Again, slightly different line. We do this often, but we haven't in a bit. Exhale and fold. Inhale, chest forward. Bend your knees, plant your hands, left foot back. Feel free to use props. Lengthen the body. As you feel that right foot, where is the weight? Does it go into the toes or is it all in the heel? Can it go between, right? And that back foot. Does your heel roll in or roll out? Can you be on the very middle, center of the ball mounds of the feet so that your heel, the middle of the heel, points up to the sky-ish, right? If it's better for you another way, do it. I'm just suggesting. Shoulder blades down the back, reaching the chest forward, finding that long core line. And then bringing the left knee down, maintaining the spine and the pelvis if available. To come up today, we're rooting down. So right foot roots down, left shin and left foot, and reach the arms forward to bring you up into your Anjaneyasana. And then if we don't bring attention to it, we usually forget to continue to push the left shin down. But it's beneficial, right? As we root into the earth with that left shin and knee and pull this frontal hip point, hi, psoas. You can do it without that action. It just gives you a little something extra. Are your shoulders up in your ears? Don't box them down, but soften them down. They're different. And take one more breath. And then we're going to move it into a twist, just so you know ahead of time. Right hand, right thigh. You're going to lengthen forward. Left hand on block or ground, under shoulder. Inhale, chest forward, and then you're going to turn towards that right knee. Maybe that right arm reaches up. If it does, can you lengthen from that right shoulder all the way through the right fingers? And can you still breathe? And if you cannot, that is your body telling you something, by the way, right? Take one more breath. Hello, Paula. Hello, Kate. Hello, Carolyn. I might have missed someone. If I did, I'm sorry. I'm gazing at your bodies, your beautiful bodies. Bring the hands down and step back to downward facing dog. Yep, I said it. Every single one of you has a beautiful body, whether you know it or not. And breathe. And then we're going to inhale the left leg up into the air behind us. And we're going to try to use that strength line, coming forward towards plank, pulling the knee up, pushing the floor away, and stepping the foot forward. We've been working that line for a while now, not meaning it should be there, just meaning it's that same line you know better than you think you know, probably. And then as that right heel pushes back and the chest reaches forward, again, today we're tuning into the ground. So where is the weight in your left foot? Mine always goes into my toes unless I invite some into the heel. That's me, not you necessarily. And if my back foot had its druthers, I would come onto the ball mound of my toe and my heel would drop into center line. So I'm checking into my back foot. So I'm in the very center, middle of the heel, reaching up, lengthening up, right? And take one more breath from here. Now keep your torso
Bring the right knee down, uncurl the toes. And again, to come up today, push the left foot and the right shin down like the Dickens. Let that be what brings you up today. Pulling the frontal hip points up and just play with it. If you turn off the pressure in the right shin, do you A, feel stable, more stable or less stable? And B, does the psoas get as deep of a stretch, right? And then push it down again if you're playing with me and notice if there's any difference. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. Take another breath here before our twist. Left hand, left thigh, lengthening out, placing hand on floor or block. Inhale, longest spine you ever did find, turning to the left. Once you get all set, maybe that left arm extends, but maybe it doesn't. If you're choosing extension, can that left shoulder lift up a little higher through the fingers? And does that help your ribs rotate? And then coming back into that right shin and the left foot, are they still planted? Take one more breath, inhale, and bring that down and step forward to the top of your mat. Inhale the chest forward. Exhale, folding in. And inhale, coming on up, your arm version. One is not better than the other. One is better for your body today. Exhale, we all meet with our arms by our side. I'm gonna wait for a moment till that siren passes. Not sure if you're picking it up, but it's loud where I am. And let's go in one more time for one more lunge series, and then we'll be out of the lunge series. Inhale, reach the arms forward and up. Exhale, folding in. Inhale that chest forward, long breath. Bend the knees, plant the hands, step the right foot back. And I say lunge series, but we're not dropping the knee for this one. We're going to try to come up into crescent. But before you do, find the same line. I work this stuff for a reason, right? I'm not totally crazy. It's putting the weight completely into the entire four corners of the left foot, right into the center of that back right foot, right heel up. Now bend the right knee a little bit, reach the arms forward and push down mightily into the legs to come up to crescent. You know you can drop a knee if that's better for your body, yeah? Soft shoulders. And again, when you come up and we're suddenly putting more balance into it, what happens in your feet? Where does the weight go? Can you distribute it evenly? Maybe that right leg starts to straighten, but without dumping into the low back, be cautious of that. And bringing the hands down. If you'd like a little bit of heat, you have an option for plank here. Downward dog or child's pose if you're like, no way, Jose. Take a second and settle in. We're not coming to the earth, right? Knees could totally come down as a modification. And you're looking for the same line that we just worked, but it's harder here because we're bearing more weight in odd places, right? Are your fingers rooting down? Index finger and thumb? Are you rotating your triceps in? Is it the middle of the feet and the heels pushing back? Back to downward facing dog. And I know I'm working stillness and some of it's when strong poses, but stillness is grounding, right? May not feel like it and you may want to fight it, but try to work with stillness as much as you can today. Inhale the right leg into the air behind you. Coming forward through that strength line towards plank, round the spine up into cat, pull the knee up, etc. That right foot will end up forward, even if you have to push it. Finding your long line before you come up into crescent, and then hopefully our spine is already in position. We don't have to change it much, right? Where's the weight in the right foot? Where's the weight in the left foot? Can you be an observer, a discoverer today? Then maybe that left knee bends as the arms reach forward. Left knee could totally come onto the earth. Otherwise, we're in crescent with a bent back knee. So finding the frontal hip points one more time. Now that we're bearing more weight, what's happening with the feet, right? And then maybe that left leg starts to straighten back, but without pulling that left hip point down. Take another breath from there. No matter how uncomfortable it is, try to stay for the breath. Bring the hands down. Pain, no way, get out, but not discomfort, right? Step that left foot forward. Inhale, reaching the chest forward. Exhale, fold. Inhaling up. And wherever you went, we'll just meet with our arms down by our side. We'll pause and maybe close the eyes. And when you close the eyes, I want you to tune into what happens in your feet and your ankles. We notice it the most in the ankles, potentially. I mean, maybe you're super stable and you're not moving at all, but for most of us, even if it's micro movements, right, we're moving just a little bit and those muscles just keep flexing and moving around. In the ankle, yes, the foot, right? But the ankle is, again, the easiest place to observe this usually. And so just noticing how that weight is shifting and you are constantly trying to find your balance. And that's when you're aware of it. It's happening all the time. Go ahead and open the eyes. And while we're in this place, I'm going to move my blanket. You don't have to move yours. I just want to face you in the center. We're going to play with tree. So hopefully you're still there. You're still in the feet, especially that left foot. Can it really root down? And I personally like to lift up my toes and spread them, not only for balance, but it's all I'm going to have on the ground in a second, right? Hands on the hips, bending the right knee, keeping that left glute hugging. Leg comes out, and the toes can totally stay down on the earth for a moment if they want to. I'll talk you up with the leg in a second. Move your left leg and your right foot into each other and notice what happens, right? And then notice most of us will put the weight forward. So can you put more weight in your left heel? It'll lean you back and it'll be like, oh my gosh, but try to work from there today. Now, maybe that leg slides up into whatever position it wants to do, anywhere but a knee joint. And once you make contact again, push the leg and the foot together gently, right? It's an isometric action. There's no movement there, but it contracts muscles that keep your balance or help keep your balance, help you find balance. I shouldn't say keep. Play with the arms if you want to. All variations are on the table. And if you're looking at your screen and you're looking at me, I'm moving. When we're trying to do balance, it's usually easiest to look at a non-moving point of focus, soft drishti. Take one more breath wherever you are and bring that down. Recalibrate. Take a second. You can close the eyes if you want to. Again, I want you to really tune into your ankles and the feet. Feel that energy exchange, right, between the earth and your foot. And then spread the right toes wide, maybe. And open the eyes if they were closed, by the way. Hands on hips. Bend left knee and get that hip to turn on the glutes. That's one of the hardest pieces of this puzzle, I think. Not to find it here, to keep it. And then you're going to let the knee move out and bring the heel in. And again, today I'm going to suggest leaving the toes on the earth. Don't be so whatever that you're driven. You have to get the leg up to the pubic bone. As you push your heel and your leg together, wherever the twain shall meet, right? Isometric action, does that help you find center? And this is the most important piece to me actually today. We're often in the ball mounds of the right foot. So if we push the weight back into the heel and get out of the toes, it may feel totally weird. This is where we want to work from today. We might drag that foot up a little bit, wherever that is for us today. We might not. We might keep the toes on the ground the whole dang time. And again, trying to keep the weight in the right heel, that right glute hugging in, the left foot and the right leg pushing together for that isometric centering. Maybe arms play, whatever that is to you in your body. Hands can totally stand hips. Arms can reach down. They can be teed out to, I don't care. What feels good? What's grounding you? What's centering you? And if it's coming from this driven thing like, well, this is where the pose is. The pose has to be the arms are up and the hands come together and touch. Get out. I love you. Stop doing that to yourself. Let that foot come down to the ground and pause for a second. Close the eyes and tune into your ankles. And although they're probably moving around, has your balance, your weight distribution changed at all after doing that posture? Inhale and open the eyes. Let's step our feet out nice and wide. Now you might want to turn sideways on your mat or remove a blanket if you had one. And then from there, we're going to turn towards the right. So left toes in, whole right leg out, nothing too fancy there. Inhale those arms out wide. Hands could totally stand hips. And exhale into warrior two. So let's just play with warrior two for a second and open up this line. We have not done much for the external rotation, right? And go ahead and straighten the leg. And when you come in this time, I'm going to actually ask, watch me for a second. So we often come in and I'll coach you in slowly. I want you to and drop in. It's going to cause your hamstrings to really turn on, right? So inhale the arms out wide. And when you come in, try to let it be a and drop it in. Yeah. So exhale and drop it in when you're ready. And then hopefully the hamstring is a little more fired up. Go ahead and if you can lift the right toes, lift the right toes so you get the weight in the heel. And then as you bring the toes back down, equal distribution of weight. Now that back foot, usually we're collapsing our inner arch. So push your back outer heel down, find all four corners. And then moving on from here, reverse warrior. Left hand on the thigh, right arm reaches up and lengthen up, out. So we've been playing with this sequence of standing poses, but come to it like it's brand new. You've never done it before. And how does that change? Did your weight want to move with you when you did that? Now, keep that arm long, lengthen the side waist out, either arm on leg, or you could come to a block if that's your preference, right? I forgot to tell you to have a block on standby. And reaching that top arm all the way over. So the way I find is the deepest into my side waist and that length is the more I push that outer heel down, the piece that really doesn't want to activate and lengthen, the more I start to activate my side waist. My weight will always go into my right toes if I do not check my ball mounds more than my toes. So I need to put a little weight in my heels and then I might be able to drop a little deeper in because now I have more support in the system. Now to come up, we're coming up to warrior two, by the way. Push the feet down, push the feet down, push the feet down, push the feet down, push the feet down. It's way harder, but it's awesome stuff. It's stabilizing, right? From there, you're gonna straighten the leg, turn the toes straight forward, and we're gonna get ready for the other side. Turning right toes in, whole left leg out. I don't know about you all, but I got some heat that's building. Whew. Inhale the arms out wide. And exhale. First one, the way we normally go, nice and slow, just bend it in, right? It's still a great entry. It's just I'm teaching you a different one today. And straighten the leg. So the next one is the drop in, right? Inhale and exhale, drop it in. Usually you get a little deeper. Usually the hamstring then turns on and you're like, oh, an extra support system. That's interesting. Now lift your left toes and try to get that left heel to really root down. Yeah. Keep it, put the ball mounds back down, and now find equal distribution. And then the back leg, are you collapsing that inner arch in? I do every single time, unless I invite the outer heel. And actually, I'm feeling I need to kick my heel back, right? When I kick my heel back, I can find those two actions. That's me. And from there, right hand, right thigh, left hip heavy, reach the arm up. Try to keep all four corners of both feet pushing down as you move into your reverse warrior. Right? So it depends on what we want. These poses are not supposed to be one way every single time. What are we focusing on? Today I'm bringing you to the ground a lot. So what is the ground doing underneath you right now? What's your connection to it, right? Now lengthen it out and go ahead and bring that hand onto a block or arm on leg. They're both totally awesome. Reach that top arm over. And again, we're going to focus on this line first, right? It's one of the main benefits of this posture. As I push that outer right heel down even more, maybe I can lengthen that side body a little more. Check out for that over-eager right inner shoulder, that upper trap. And then my weight is completely in my left ball mounds every single time, right? I'm not lying, it's in it right now. So I'm putting more weight in my heel and it allows me to drop a little deeper in, AKA bend my knee a little more, maybe, maybe not. Now we're coming up from pushing down. Push the feet down, push the feet down, push the feet down, push the feet down. Warrior two, stay in the bend. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Crystal Joy Johnson, ooh, straighten the legs. Whew, turn the toes forward and breathe. So one of the questions I got, you can always tell me, I'm not ever trying to call anybody out, but what that Brenda was asking was, you know, as she is working with her body, she's wondering about building muscles and keeping muscle mass, right? And does yoga do that? Can yoga do that? Yeah, it can. Is it the same as weights? No, I don't think necessarily. Is one more better than the more better than the other? Not necessarily, but if I'm sitting here and I'm hanging out with all of my weight in this leg, I am bearing weight. I don't need to put a dumbbell on that thing, right? Or in my arms necessarily. I'm still working with it. So there are definitely ways that you can still work with keeping your tone and your muscle mass in yoga, right? Being still in poses like that, so fantastic for any of my friends who are prone towards or have a family history of osteoporosis. I do it all the time well, all the time. I try to do it because I have it in my family. Toes straight forward, hands on the hips, shoulder heads back. And we're gonna have a block or your support system nearby. Before you go down, actually, let me show you this. Well, sorry, I'm changing it, which is never good for me because I'm all over the place. But we're gonna come down once, look at it for 2 shakes, don't come in. You're gonna reach the chest forward and you're gonna come on down, right? First time without a block, we'll hang out here for a couple of breaths. And then I'm gonna have you come up to the halfway point, and if it's available, if you have something around, you're gonna try to come on down, and you're gonna try to move towards the, you won't come to the area between the eyebrows so much, but more towards maybe the hairline without hurting your neck, right? I'm not putting weight into it. I need to make sure that I either bring my feet in to support that so that I just am putting the lightest amount of pressure so my neck doesn't get cranked, but I have support under my head. And that might be a chair or a coffee table or a blanket or 2 blocks or 5 blocks, right? And if you're like, I don't have anything like that around, no worries. You won't get that benefit, but you'll still get all the other benefits. Inhale, shoulder blades down the back, reaching forward, planting hands down, reaching chest forward, keep the space in the hips, planting all 4 corners of both feet, fold in without the prop the first round. And just let yourself hang in. You can grab outer ankles with hands or bring hands back between the legs, fingers and toes, pointing the same way, or some people like to reach their hands back, etc. I'm going to stop talking. Hang in this forward fold. So forward folds energetically are extremely calming and grounding. So here we are in a forward fold. Can you release the muscles of your spinal column all around it and let the vertebrae get space between them? Feel free to bend the knees a little bit if it feels like you're hyperextending or it's too much on the inner groin. And then we're going to come up halfway. You can stay in it if you're not going to prop yourself, and find your prop. Bring it in. You'll kind of have to adjust it once you come down. And keeping the chest long, you'll lengthen down in, and you'll try to see if you can get your hairline-ish. Maybe you get a little closer on the forehead, but again, not with pressure in the back of the neck, right? We're not putting pressure on the neck. It should feel like the floor is coming up. Go wider with your feet to bring yourself down to the prop. You can bring your feet in a little more if you feel like there's compression and you don't want the head to hang down quite as much. Arms can do whatever version feels good. I always feel the most supported with my arms kind of like chaturanga, which means my hands are between my feet, my elbows are gently bent, right? And it just gives me just a little bit of what feels like support, so that I'm not bearing too much weight on my head. But again, I find the easiest way to deal with that is to move my feet in or out accordingly. Try to soften and let that area soften down into your prop. If you're not working with that, all of us could still also bring our awareness into our feet and find out if we're moving our weight into the heels and our hips are moving behind our heels, if we're moving our weight into the ball mounds and the hips are forward and our whole body is forward. Try to find that even distribution today. Coming up gently, hands under shoulders, moving prop out of way or not. It probably won't be in your way to get out. Bend the knees, reach the chest forward. You can always roll up, but if it's okay to do core, hands on the hips and reach the chest forward to come on up, 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 up. Walk the feet in. So we're going to go into the inner groin land one more time. And for this one, feel free to support the knee. I'm going to show you the shape so you have an idea about it, but we're going to come on down with one knee down, one leg out, and then this is the fast version, right? And then you might walk that out a little wider, and we might soften down. You might come back. I personally usually work with a block, or you could even put 2 blocks underneath, so you still get the nice. This is a yin style pose, no muscular action, softening the fascia. So have stuff on standby. Yeah. You'll notice I put a blanket under my knee. I like to have cushion. I want to keep these babies around the rest of my life. And so you come to hands and knees. Reach the right leg out, just wherever it goes. Don't force it into anything. I mean, out from the hip-ish, I will say that. Toes, well, gosh, where do they feel the most comfortable? right? And if your foot lifts up a little bit or the edge of your foot, it's totally okay. We're not trying to force it down or force the toes forward. Let it really just be the softest version you can find. Now, for some of us, we're already in the inner groin and you're like, yep, maybe those blocks become your support system to bring the elbows and soften in. Some of us, we might walk. I'm trying to move the stuff out of the way so you can see the left leg a little further out, knee out a little further to the side. I'm going to adjust myself a little bit so I'm still on my blanket. All right, so now I have a little bit wider of a V. Doesn't make us a better person if we can do that or not. Soften that leg, and you might be like, yep, I'm in, I'm good. Right, and take a breath here anyway, letting the brain know this is the muscle. I find when I work with clients, this muscle almost more than any other is the one that is constantly contracted and has the hardest time letting go. And it's protection. A lot of it is protection, I think. Now, from there, I might start to sit my buttocks back. And Lynn, that might feel like too much. Talk to me if you need a modification in this pose. But I think with just the hands, knees version, it's okay. And from there, again, I like to put a block underneath me so that I have a support system and I don't feel like I'm hanging in my joints. And then maybe you let the body round forward wherever you're working from. Can you soften onto blocks or whatever it is and let that spine just get a gentle rounding? And here we are in a forward fold again. The difference between this one and the last one is that in this one, we're trying not to have one single muscle turned on, right? So, I mean, I might have a little support from my forearms being down, but hopefully I'm not crunching my shoulders up to my ear or any such thing. Let go of your right foot and toes and ankle and everything, and just let it be an inner groin stretch without you having to try to make it happen or trying to make it super sensational. And I can get my forearms down to the ground. So what I really like is I like to either put a block up. For me, it's on high, but where I can put that forehead down again. Or if I don't have support props, I put my elbows on the ground and I bring my thumbs together and I put my thumbs into that third eye. And I try to let the weight of the head soften into the hands or the prop, whatever you're working with. And try to take about 2 more breaths from here. And again, if you need a modification, please tell me. That left heel, the closer it is to my buttocks for when I lean back with the weight, the hips moving back, the less it tweaks my knee, right? I shouldn't say less. It's not tweaking my knee, but if I leave my ankle really wide, it gets irritated. My knee doesn't like it. And we're going to put the hands down on the ground, and we're going to come up, put the weight in. I like to move my left knee in if I've moved it out. I find that more supportive. And then you're going to really slowly and gently bring that leg back, that right leg. And maybe you twirl ankles or you just sway hips or you cat cow or just take a second and just kind of take a moment before we do the other side. But I would also invite you to notice if there's a difference between the right inner groin and the left inner groin. I've talked fairly extensively about how the very first muscles to turn on when adrenaline is released in your body, right? It's a chemical hormonal reaction, is these muscles go and they get you ready for fight, flight, or freeze. So we're just trying to say, hey, babies, you don't have to be turned on right now. So that left leg is going to step out. And toes, they don't have to face the way I'm facing. They just go wherever the heck they're the most comfortable. This is stage 1, and you might bring forearms down and just hang out right here the whole dang time, right? Maybe that right knee feels comfortable in your body to go a little wider. That doesn't make you a better human if it does, not at all. And then, I'm not going to bring my hips back for a second because I like to let it be progressive. I like to be like, hey, body, just so you know, this is going down. And the brain has a whole conversation with the tendons, and the tendons say it's okay. And then the ganglia cells come out of the muscles so that it's not inhibited, and the length starts to come in. Everybody feels safe. Awesome. We feel safe. Now, my next phase might be to bring that right heel in a little bit as I sit back, and I'm going to sit either maybe inside or on the heel, or I might bring that block in or whatever it is, whatever height you need, right? And again, just let that be soft, right? Wherever that foot and leg want to go. And I hyperextend my knee like crazy. So on this one, I put my support system under my knee so I don't go into hyperextension, right? So again, I tune in every single time that I do the pose and discover what it is that my body needs to feel supported. If you're digging that forehead grounded business, You could put a prop under it, or you could put your elbows on the ground and bring your thumbs. I like to interlace and my thumbs come up and support that area. Now I can release the weight of my head, and I also get that benefit of my forehead being grounded. Having a conversation with the vagus nerve. Which translates as the wandering nerve, and it's the main communication highway between your enteric system and your nervous system and the brain. Well, and I probably don't need to separate those. The enteric is part of your nervous system. That's your gut. Taking about 2 more breaths or so here. If you're finding that it's hard to be still, your mind is getting busy, all those things, try to stick with it. Keep coming back to feeling the earth underneath you, to tuning into the sensations of the body. Put the hands down on the ground. Again, I like to bring my knee in if I went a little wide, my right knee, and then coming up to hands and knees, and so slowly and gently letting that leg come back in so you wind up on hands and knees. And if you want to do any twirling or pitter-pattering or cat-cowing, right, all of those things are on the table. And then we're going to go from there into one more pose before we take Shavasana, and that's going to be on our back body. Have Shavasana, cuddle ups, or whatever it is you need near you, please. And you might want a block or a blanket for the twist when we do it. Maybe, maybe not, but just have it. Better to have it near you and be able to grab it than not grab it, I think, anyway. You get all relaxed and chilled out, then you're like contracting all of your muscles to try to grab something far away. I've done it many times. And from there, bring the knees in towards the chest when you get there, no rush. And just hug the knees in a little bit and down a little bit. Doesn't have to be anything major. And rocking from right to left if that feels comfortable. And then keeping the knees in towards the chest, we're going to let the knees come on over to the right. So we know this twist, simple supine twist. There's nothing too brand new here, right? That right hand might come onto the outer left thigh. You can kind of play with, if this feels like it's too far into the twist, you could put a block underneath the right shin, a thigh shin area, and that could just prevent you from going quite as far, and that might feel supportive. The left arm, maybe that is cactus style. Maybe that feels like it benefits you more today. And as I say, benefit, right? That doesn't mean the biggest stretch, the deepest thing, the most strength. It means what, when you do it, do both positions. And what is your body like? Oh my gosh, there's something happening here that's very settling for me and feels nice. Now, head, it can turn towards the direction of the knees to the right. It can just stay still. It can turn to the left. Don't assume turning to the left is the best because that's the way it's often taught. Again, where do you feel the most settled? And then now that you've been here for a little bit, there's one more potential adjustment, variation, and that is you might straighten that bottom leg, that right leg out towards straight. Now I'm not flexing my foot or pushing my heel away. It's all very soft. We've moved into a little kind of yin section of class, right? I personally like to put a block under my left knee so I get a little bit more depth with that right knee being out of there, but I'm not hanging, what I call hanging in my joints or my body, right? It feels supported. And then can you let go of all muscular action? Where are the parts you're hanging on? And as you've scanned throughout class, has it always been that jaw and that right shoulder, or has it changed depending on the pose? And is it stress? Is it restriction? Is it protectionism? And you don't have to know. Maybe you'll never know. Maybe that's the great mystery. to come up out of it. If you straightened your right leg, I'm going to suggest that you bend it before you come up through center, but you know your body better than I do, right? And if you need to recalibrate before you hug the knees in, lift the hips, set them down, knees come in, etc. Right? Maybe rocking just a little bit between sides. And then if and when you're ready, you can have a block support system over there too, by the way, on the left. Let the legs come over to the left and either stop it with a block to support yourself or bring them down towards the ground. Left hand might come onto outer right thigh. Head, I don't know which way feels like it's settling you, like it's the softest in your body today. Right arm, maybe teed out, maybe it's a little lower than shoulder line, maybe you go into cactus arm. Where does it feel grounding, centering, balancing? Take another breath here. I'll get you to that straight leg if that's what you're waiting for. And if you're waiting for it, why are you waiting? Enjoy this. They're both their own beautiful thing. And one leads into the other. Maybe that left leg extends out towards straight. But again, once you get there, soften the muscles. You're not trying to flex the foot or push the heel away or anything. I often teach that way, right? Because we often do this muscularly. But right now, it is no muscle contraction time. So as you scan through your body, I'm noticing my inner left groin is still contracted. My jaw is contracted. My left shoulder, right? So can you soften those bits and pieces? And if you feel like a block under that right knee is supportive, use it as well. 2 more breaths here. And to transition, again, I'm going to suggest that you bend the left knee if it was straight, and then bring those knees back up. If you need to pick the hips up and put them down to just recalibrate anything or line up, whatever that is to you. Maybe squeeze the knees in one more time, just nice and gentle. Maybe forehead moves up towards knees. It doesn't have to be an entire squish, squish, squeeze, squeeze like I sometimes teach, but you might just come in a little bit towards center line before you extend it out away from center line. So that's Shavasana. And again, the theme of today's class is grounding. So don't let it be, this is how you do Shavasana. This is how I was taught by all of these teachers or whatever, right? What feels grounding to you right now? Is it having something warm draped over you? Is it having weight on the thighs? Is it having a support system under your thighs? Feet on the ground, etc. What is it that's like just helps you feel that earth underneath you? That helps you feel settled. And, you know, again, we are all different, but it was taught in most of the schools that I have learned from that weight on the thighs is a really grounding thing. So just not saying you need to do it, but just pointing that out, that that might be, if you're like, I don't know, or you've never tried it, you might put some weight on your thighs. And the mind is going to drift off. This I can guarantee. So when it does, so gently, find out what your anchor point is for today. The breath, physical sensations in the body, sound, right? Whatever that is, gently guide the mind back to the breath. Or to the breath, sorry, to whatever anchor point. Sorry about that. I let you choose today. But do it my way. I do change. It depends on the day for me, what I use as my anchor point. But the breath is one that's really accessible. And also, I think there's something valid about trying different ones. But then if there's one that's working for you for a while, you know, using that and sticking with that so that you really start to get those neurons to fire in that way. We've all heard what fires together, wires together. And the mind might not even stick around for but a couple of seconds before it drifts off again. But we don't get upset with ourselves. We don't judge ourselves. We just really gently, gently, gently guide that mind back to our anchor point. So you are in your own homes. You could just stay here for as long as you'd like. You do not have to come up when I call it out. But if you're on a time commitment, we're going to really slowly start to make our journey up. So what are the bits and pieces today that feel like they will complete you on the ground before you rise? Do those things. And then when you're ready, you guys by this point in time have heard my requests many, many times. Just bring calm with you if you found any. And continue to move slow. But you will come up to seated when you're ready. And then sitting or kneeling, finding that spine is long and that all of the messages that need to run through that spinal column, right, through the spinal cord, which is inside the spinal column, that all those messages can get into and out of that beautiful, beautiful, some people call it the bamboo flute, right? That spinal column is this beautiful container for all of this energy to move through. And one more time, feel the earth underneath your feet. And then I'm going to read a quote that came back to me this morning that's pretty powerful for me. I've been dealing with someone who doesn't like my light to shine very bright. And then also between that and the leaders of our country kind of using fear and scarcity and such thing. This just really, really was like, whoa, that's right. I love this quote so much. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And that's Marianne Williamson, if you're not familiar with that quote. So, sitting tall, letting your light shine bright, and not letting other people's take it down. But that, of course, doesn't give us permission to put our, get up in other people's grill with it and be angry and forceful. We just shine our light bright. We're our authentic selves. And hopefully that liberates others. And believe it or not, everybody has this light in them. Sometimes it doesn't seem possible. And there are a couple of people right now in my world, near and far, people whom I don't even know, that sometimes I doubt, but it is possible. So can we send loving energy to every being, everywhere, everywhere? Namaste. My hope for you is that you feel just a little more grounded as you go out there into that big old wide world filled with the air and ether of autumn and all of the contentiousness that's happening right now. I love you all very much.